And we are back. After a long hiatus, we have returned, and our beards are bigger than ever. Welcome back to the Sage's Nook podcast. My name is Tom. You might know me as the Adventure Sage online. This is my brother, the dual wielder, my partner in crime.
I'm the hammer to your axe.
The hammer to my axe.
We're back, baby. We're back.
Exactly. This is the Sage's Nook podcast. We're here to talk anything and everything D&D, and we actually have a good amount of to talk about today because we've been gone for like 4 weeks. And I noticed this cadence that we've been doing where when we first started the podcast, we did it for 5 episodes, and then we took like a month off because it was like Christmas season. And then we got back on, and then we did another 5 episodes, and then we took a month off, really because we were just kind of busy. We're back for season 3 of the podcast now.
Yes, I was also down and out for like 2 weeks too. I was feeling pretty sick.
Yeah,
There's something's going around where you get sick for like a few days and then you just have a cough for forever. So
it's the changing of the seasons. Usually like fall will bring that, and then spring will bring that. Knock on wood, but I'm usually, ever since I moved to Colorado, I've been extremely prone to illness, but I've been pretty good this season. But anyways, you came here to listen to us talk about some Dungeons and Dragons, baby.
yes, sir.
We played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, actually, since we last were on here. Last episode, we broke down the monster manual, did a couple fun exercises, but today we're just going to be catching up, yapping a little bit, and seeing what the future holds. So first and foremost, we've really dove in. We've dived in.
We've dived it in. We've
dived in to the campaign that I'm running online with Mitch is one of the characters in there. We're getting deep into it now, where I think we're going to be on session 6 or 7.
I think it's 6.
Yeah, we've actually been doing, we've been pretty consistent with that, playing on a weekly basis. Really excited about how that's going, except our last session, and this is going to take us into our first thing, is I made the biggest mistake I've ever made as a DM in our last session. Now, us DMs, we make mistakes every now and then. There's some times where an encounter's too easy and we didn't plan for it properly. Sometimes an encounter's too hard. Sometimes you forget an NPC name. There's a lot of ways that you can fumble up as a DM. And usually it's a quick mistake and you're like, all right, water under the bridge, keep going. This was not a quick mistake. This turned into a huge situation and I was shitting my pants pretty much the entire time.
Yes.
So if you have watched our previous episode where we dissected the monster manual, first off, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, what the hell are you doing here? Go back and watch that shit. This is a linear story.
Yeah, if you haven't watched our previous episodes, technically it doesn't really link up, but what are you doing?
You'll miss out on important lore.
Yeah,
but anyways,
important lore into our lives, into our history.
Yeah, the lore of the brothers. But anyways, we talked in our last episode about how much deadlier the monsters are in general in this new monster manual, because pretty much all the player classes, there's some of them that got nerfed, but pretty much all the player classes were buffed up. Power level is the highest it's ever been in D&D right now. So the monsters also got a little bit of a glow up, and they are a lot deadlier.
Tom learned that lesson.
Yeah, this campaign is kind of I wouldn't say grimdark, but it's a dark fantasy campaign. We're using some altered rules to make things a little bit grittier. We're using altered rest mechanics. If someone goes down, they receive grievous wounds. I'm using a lot of the rules, the alternate variations of rules from the Grim Hollow series, if you're familiar with that. Really awesome series. Definitely go buy it if you like kind of like that grim dark fantasy style of play. This is a gritty campaign, and they were traveling in the woods in our previous session, and they were going to be ambushed by goblins. So I designed this ambush, and it was designed to be a tough encounter. Goblins are usually everyone thinks of them as this little trivial monster, but if a horde of them attacks you, they can actually be very overwhelming very quickly. So there was this horde of goblins that came out after them, and the combat started, and, it was going as any other combat would. They were fighting, trading blows, all that stuff. But I did notice, and this is a kind of a tiny tangent, I noticed that when we play in Foundry, which is a virtual tabletop. It's really awesome. It's a lot of work to kind of make it work properly, but it has a lot of abilities to do really cool stuff. So if you want like an upgrade from Roll20, you're definitely going to have to do more work up front to get your sessions ready, but it's got a lot of cool things you can do in there. But anyways, Foundry has the Goblin stat block because I imported the new Goblin stat block into it. We started fighting, and I'm rolling all of the damage in Foundry, and these goblins are doing like 8, 10, 12 damage a hit. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, these new goblins don't mess around.
Yeah.
So we do that. Mitch and his party are only level 3 at this point. So they're only like mid 20s from a health perspective. The combat keeps going and it keeps going. And things are getting worse and worse. And I'm like, I feel like something's wrong. I feel like something's wrong. When I looked into the stat block, I realized that Foundry has been automatically applying a conditional damage bonus to these goblins every single time they attack. The new goblin stat block has a little conditional bonus damage where if they received advantage on the attack, then they do an extra d4 if they hit. So a d6 plus a d4 plus their 2 mod. So every single time one of these goblins hit, that bonus has been automatically being applied. So when a goblin hits Kronos for 12 damage, that shouldn't have been happening. So
Yeah.
I really looked at this when Mitch's character went down because I was like, there's no way. These are a 1/4 CR creature and they're doing 12 damage a hit, up to 12 damage. Something's wrong. So I actually flip open the actual monster manual instead of looking in Foundry. And I was like, oh, yep, these guys have been receiving a conditional bonus the entire fight. So I was like, oh, man, there's so much damage that I can't take back. I could take it back, but it would take so long to amend that. So Mitch's character goes down. Someone else has already been down and brought back up, but things are looking bad. There's still like 4 goblins left. Everyone is like 1 hit away from being killed. So Mitch's character has 2 death saves already, 2 successful death saves and 1 failure. So Mitch is, I'm freaking out now. I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like I have been doing way more damage than I should have. So I amended that obviously, but Mitch is like, it's fine. I'm going to get back up next round. I'm going to roll my 3rd success and we're going to be chilling. Next round comes along. Mitch rolls a natural 1.
Yeah, it was
dies.
pretty poor on my part. I was like, the whole combat, I'm like, it's just goblins, we're fine, blah blah blah. I was thinking to myself in my head, I was like, man, these guys hit way harder than I expected. I honestly, there's players are at fault here too. You kind of underestimate the goblins, and I haven't fought any new goblins yet in the 2024 game. So when I'm fighting, it's goblins, I'm playing a little more reckless than I should be because I'm not expecting them to do that much damage. So I'm taking extra attacks from them when I'm leaving their engagement because I'm trying to fight more important targets. I didn't cast a spell in the first round of combat because I'm like, oh, it's just goblins, we're good. Which I would have cast like Bless or Protection or some sort of protection spell, but I didn't. So I greeted it. And then obviously the worst thing happened. I rolled the 1 after the death save. And I literally in my chair went on cam and everyone was like, oh no. So I died.
He died. His character died. And this is a very, very character driven campaign. There's a party of 3 and all 3 of their backstories are heavily interwoven into the plot. It's a heavy character-driven campaign. We're only like 6 sessions in. It's not like one of those things where like, oh, we've been 70 sessions in and a character dies heroically and dramatically and it's all right. We can put that character to rest. It's like, no, dude, we're just getting started. So Mitch's character dies. And at this point, I feel terrible because I'm like, he died because I've been messing up this entire fight. I've been cheating technically without knowing.
Yeah, he did about like 50 extra damage to me. Yeah. We're level 3.
Mitch has built his character to be pretty much indestructible. He's a warlock and he has false life that he can cast at will. So every turn, if he has a bonus action, he can cast false life on himself and do max temp HP.
Yeah, and
so every turn he gets
and I'm a base paladin, so I'm tanky. I have the armor. I'm like the melee warlock tank build. So I can false life to basically rejuvenate 12 health every round. I've got protection spells. I've got healing. So I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'll take care of it. So I got dealt like an extra 50 damage to me, and I still was like holding my own. But I just eventually I just couldn't handle it, and I just went down. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, these goblins are horrible. They hurt so much. And I was thinking in my head, like, oh, I should have played that way more tactically. I didn't realize they were such a big threat.
Yeah, it was rough. So Mitch's character dies, and that's when I was like, you know what? Stop the session. I messed up, and I'm not gonna let a character die because I was cheating. I was like, how about this? I don't want to go back and spend an hour like recounting every single extra piece of damage I did and giving it back to you guys. So everybody just take inspiration. Everybody just take a free point of inspiration. You can have advantage on any roll you want. So I was like, Mitch, please, for the love of God, use your inspiration to re-roll that death save. So he did.
I rerolled the death save, and just in heroic fashion, and to really be an inspiration for the realm and the characters around me and my party. Just in our time of need, I rolled another one, so I stayed dead.
Rolled another natural one, stayed dead. So that was awesome. What are the odds? Very small, very, very small, to put it lightly. So luckily, one of our other characters gave Mitch his inspiration again to roll a third time, and this time he got back up.
I did.
So that was nice. But this was one of those things where it's one thing to be like, look back at the encounter and be like, oh, yeah, I guess those guys were doing extra damage. It's all right. Everyone was fine though. And you just kind of be like, man, I made a mistake. Not going to do that again. But this one was like, nope, my mistake almost caused a TPK. And it was tough because we were all shitting our pants. There was a point where there was like 4 goblins left. Mitch is down. Beetol and Silas, they are literally like one shot away from going down as well. And they just keep whiffing attacks. And I'm like, guys, please, I can't start fudging my rolls. I can't do it as a DM. I will let everyone die before I start fudging rolls. It's just the way that I operate. Please don't make me kill you guys. But it was poorly played on pretty much every part, especially mine. So
yeah.
Read the stat blocks. That was a rookie mistake that I made, not actually reading the entirety of the stat block and just going, oh yeah, I know how goblins work. And then I threw them in there. Stat block was different than the 2014 version. And I didn't pick apart every single little ability. So moral of the story, read the fucking stat blocks. Just read the stat blocks. Don't be like me. Don't assume I know what a goblin is. I've ran a goblin 5 million times. I never ran a 2024 goblin. The shit is deadly. Also, just a tack onto this. The new hobgoblin, I had actually never run a hobgoblin in the previous version of the game, but there was one hobgoblin that was part of this battle. That's a CR, I think it's a CR half creature, one half CR creature. They do 2d10 plus their mod when they hit, and that's real. When I saw it in Foundry, 2d10, I was like, that's gotta be fake. That has to be fake. And I fact checked myself and I was like, no, that's an actual thing. They just do that much damage. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Hobgoblins get underestimated a lot because they're goblinoids. So they're just, it's just like an orc, or it's just like a goblin, or a lot of people are used to bugbears, which do extra damage. But hobgoblins are like the top tier goblinoid, where they're like actually skilled, and they're like an actual like a species with like abilities and brains, and like it's like an elf or something, you know?
In my head, I compare them to Uruk-hai from Lord of the Rings.
For
they're
sure.
like they're on steroids compared to everyone else in their little, monster group.
That would make sense. Yeah.
It's just crazy. That's a crazy amount of damage output. He almost put one of the player characters down in one hit, but he was not the problem. It was the other goblins. Yeah, I almost royally messed up. I was having like a panic attack while we were playing that session.
Yeah, he was freaking out.
Bad.
He was freaking out so bad. He's like, guys, I'm so sorry. It's like, it's okay. We'll roll with the punches. It's fine. And he told us, like, in the session, he's like, guys, I've been messing up this whole time. Like, I've been doing way too much damage. And I'm like, that's fine. We got it. And then I died. But it worked out still. A little bit of finagling with the inspiration, but it all turned out okay. It
all turned out okay. We got a couple cool role play moments out of it because we canonically handled it that Mitch's character did die for a brief moment, so we got to do a cool little thing with another character who worships the Raven Queen. Mm-hmm. But so to wrap this up, don't be an idiot. Read the monsters in the monster manual. That was an absolute rookie mistake. So let my failure prevent you from making the same mistake. Yeah, I like this campaign. It's a really cool campaign. Very lightly considered. Maybe doing it live stream. Maybe. If that's something you genuinely want to see, then comment that you want to see it. If the demand is there, then we will. I'm always a little tentative to do live streams because then it adds this completely different layer to the game, and it's like, oh, okay, well now we have to be entertaining, and we find ourselves entertaining, but it's one of those things of like knowing that you have an audience will intrinsically change the way that you play the game. But I have been curious to see like how a live play would actually do, or an actual play, or whatever you want to call it. I've had a couple people over the time that I've been online be like, hey, do you have a live play? And I'm like, no, and I'm not gonna. But if enough people say they want one, I'm a man of the people.
There you go. Yeah. The demand's there. We must have the supply.
Exactly. We have the supply. We just gotta we just gotta see if it's actually in demand. But there's so many freaking live plays now. Even I'm like, even if I have creators that I like and they're like, oh, I'm in this live play, I'm like, dude, I don't care.
It's
Like,
too much.
yeah.
The problem with
It's like
D&D live play is like you can usually stick with one, and it's like it's like 4 hours a week, and it's not like you're playing, it's like you're listening or you're watching. So
Yeah.
having multiple that you follow is just like, it's just so much time. And I don't see how that's like feasible for somebody to keep up with. So it's like my brain is just like, I don't want to have to really focus on multiple different campaigns at one time. So I'm just going to ignore it and not watch it. Like my brain just doesn't want to.
Also, this just harkens back to, I just want to bring up one more thing. If you notice that Mitch just miraculously teleported into frame with headphones on, it's because we were experiencing some technical difficulties.
No, it's because I'm magical. It's because I cast a spell.
Yeah, it's his attuned item. It's his attuned warlock item.
I actually attuned to it during the podcast, so it just appeared on my head.
We had to do some real-time tech support, but we should be good now. We were talking about the campaign. We talking about my mistake. Yeah, if you actually genuinely want a live play, please actually do let us know, because I've been toying with that idea for a long time, but it's a lot of work to set it up. So I want to make sure that the demand is actually there, because I think it'd be fun, but it's just one of those things. I'm a little nervous to do it if it's not gonna. I'm a little nervous to put all that work into it, and I also don't want it to change the way that we play our game either.
Yeah,
but either way.
Yeah, the main thing is like if we were to do that, we want to go all out with it, so we'd make it like super high quality, invest a ton of time. And, it would be fun to do that, but we're having just as much fun just playing the game. So
yeah,
it's kind of like, is it actually worth it to stream it online with all of that? Or even just like record it as a video and edit it? I think that would probably be easier. I'm not sure if that would get much traction. So it's kind of like, is it worth the effort?
We'll see as time goes on. I've gotten a pretty actually good like a surge in followers. I've been putting out these dumbass videos of bad advice. So like, here's advice for problem players, and then I'll just give horrible fucking advice. It's funny, some people don't realize that it's satire, so they're like, bro, this is bad. I'm like, yeah, that's the point,
dude. This is the worst advice I've ever heard. Yeah, that's the point of the whole fucking video.
The video says tips for problem players. It's how to be a problem player. But those have been actually doing pretty well, and so if the follower count gets big enough, then maybe we will just be like, all right, we're doing a live stream. But anyways, let's move on to something that I'm actually very, very passionate about in the D&D community. Something I've been noticing lately, especially with all the new core rule books coming out. Every fucking D&D video is clickbaited now. Clickbaited to D&D is dead. D&D 24 fails. D&D this is gonna be the worst year ever for D&D. No, it's fucking not. It like takes the soul out of me. It sucks my soul out when I'm just scrolling through YouTube looking for the next video to watch while I'm painting minis, and it's like D&D is dying. No, it's not. It makes me not want to click on your video because I know that the video is not about how D&D is dying. Just drains me.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of those. People got to make their money somehow. It's the same thing as like clickbait shit online. It's the same exact thing. They've been saying D&D's been dying for the past 5 years. Ever since the OGL scandal, they've been saying D&D's been dying. And I feel like seems like it's surged more. It's not as big of a surge as it was with Critical Role, but feel like it got a little more popular again. I don't think it's dying anywhere. Obviously, like we're not in the boom anymore from before, but I think the D&D community is still big and like thriving. It's just like, it's got its fan base now. I don't think it's going to be like growing exponentially anymore unless it gets introduced in some sort of media, kind of like Stranger Things.
I was gonna say, I think they're making a show. I think a D&D show is in production, like a live action show. They're gonna probably try and make it the next, Game of Thrones or something. So the D&D movie was freaking amazing, and that was probably my biggest disappointment. What did it come out in 2023? I think probably the biggest disappointment. They released it right when the OGL thing was happening, so Hasbro shot itself in the foot.
I will say, yeah, it does. It is more viable for. I can understand why they say D&D's dying when Hasbro tries to destroy itself at every opportunity it gets, but it's not dying. The brand's not dying. It's like I think it's like their most successful brand at the company. Besides,
definitely their most lucrative.
Besides like Transformers or something like that. But yeah, it's it's just blown out of proportion. And the D&D movie was really good. If you were not a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, I could see that, like, if you're just a normal moviegoer, you'd probably be like, what the hell is going on? Like, you wouldn't understand anything about that movie because they assume that you're a fan of the hobby, and you know a lot of the stuff, which as a person who's in the fan base can appreciate. If I'm just a random Joe Schmo off the street and I watch that movie, I'm going to be confused like half the movie.
Yeah, but it's still a good movie. It's like a Guardians. Honestly, it's a medieval fantasy Guardians of the Galaxy. That's exactly what the movie is, and it works well as that. So I think we obviously get all the references, and even like down to like, oh, they cast that spell, and oh, they did this, and oh, this is a reference to that. But I feel like just the regular average consumer would have had a great time with that movie because it's just a fantasy adventure movie. The problem is D&D is not a big enough brand to hook in people that don't already know what D&D is. And then when the movie came out, half the fan base was boycotting it.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you just tanked this was like hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. Like, this is the biggest thing that D&D's ever done, was try to put out a mainstream movie, and the movie worked. The movie was awesome.
Any creative hobby or art or game design company, it's almost always ran by people who have no idea what the hell's going on in the game or anything about it. They just know, like, it's seriously like the CEOs or the people in the boardrooms at the top literally just know about the games of like, oh yeah, these people put microtransactions in their game and they made a ton of money off of it. We should do that. Sir, this is a single player role playing game. Well, we should get skins in there, because I heard that worked at that other company. Loot boxes.
Yeah.
This, sir, that's not going to work. It's a single player role playing game where you play as Sonic the Hedgehog. No, we need skins and loot boxes in there so we can be competitive. Okay, your game's gonna die. Like, what's that game called? Oh my gosh, it was like the biggest flop in gaming history. Concord. Like, it looks like, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, but D&D, that looks like Guardians of the Galaxy, but from Wish. Like, that game looks horrible. I just don't know how that makes it through.
Yeah.
So many game companies are just bankrupting themselves on these horrible ideas. And it's just, it's the same thing with Hasbro. They just want to make money, and they just shoot themselves in the foot. Well,
it's like Baldur's Gate was Game of the Year. You know why Baldur's Gate was Game of the Year and has probably, I mean, obviously they've succeeded tenfold everything that they put into the game from a monetary perspective. It's the Game of the Year. It's one of the most popular games in recent time. You know why? Because they actually cared about it. And they didn't fill your screen with microtransactions. They invested into the story. They invested into the mechanics. And yeah, Baldur's Gate is, it can be kind of buggy at sometimes, but that's just the nature of what they were trying to create. It's a fucking amazing game. And the studio that was behind it wasn't interested in trying to push a million little transactions at you. They were just saying, all right, if the game is good, then everyone's going to buy it. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, yeah, it's the game focus first. We want to make a great game because we love Dungeons and Dragons, and we're a company who loves to make action RPGs with like party dynamics. So it was gameplay first. They worked on that game for 9 years. It was supposed to come out in 2017, but they had to delay it because we're not going to be ready, and we wanted this to be good. So, and they did, and it's great. It's insane. And guess what? It probably made the most money out of any video game that year, and it has no microtransactions at all. It just boggles the mind. If I make a good game, people will buy it, and then I don't have to shove tons of microtransactions in there. And then I save face, and I keep my company's resolve and our honor to the gamers. What? Who thought?
Anyways, but yeah, that goes back. It goes back to, I've seen multiple sources saying that a D&D show is in development. Who knows if it'll actually make it to, actually streaming or whatever. I can't remember what platform it's going to be on. But
probably Paramount.
It's good.
Probably
if
Paramount.
They have the same. Oh yeah, probably Paramount. But if it's the same like vibe and style, especially if it's created by the same people who did the movie, then I would have complete faith in it. So
yeah,
the movie was awesome.
I'd be down for that. I think a TV show might be cooler. You could tell a longer like adventure kind of story. It'll be like a D&D session a week, for the show.
Yeah. anyways, D&D is not dead. D&D is not dying. Do not listen to the fear-mongering YouTube videos with clickbait of, oh, this is D&D's last chance. No, it's not. Hasbro might be evil, but D&D is still a good game and it's not dying. So just chill. I'm so tired. I'm so worn out every time I open YouTube, and it's just like every D&D, well, not every D&D creator. There are a lot of D&D creators that don't post clickbait, but there's a lot of creators that just D&D 24 has failed. I'm like, dude, I'm not watching your video. I'm not watching your video if you're going to try and bait me like this, because I know the video is not about how D&D 24 has failed.
I will say though, it does, for some reason, I don't know if it's just my algorithm or something. I do feel like I've seen a lot less D&D videos on YouTube recently. Just in my experience. I'm not sure if that's the same with you or whatever, or something's going on, but like I feel like I'm seeing a lot less like pop up.
My algorithm for YouTube is basically just D&D videos, like lo-fi music, like lo-fi music playlists, Warhammer lore, and that's honestly pretty much it.
I'm the same way, except swap out the music just for like game, like strategy guides and stuff like that.
Oh, a lot of Civ strategy guides are on my YouTube page right now.
Oh yeah.
While we were gone, we have between this episode and our last episode, we have since fallen into a pit of just being horribly addicted to Civ 5. It was a horrible idea, and it has consumed our lives. It's one of those things where just all of our buddies on Discord that are spread across the country. I can't remember who I was talking to. I think I was talking to one of my buddies here, and I was like, dude, do you play Civ? And he's like, oh yeah, I used to play Civ. And I was like, I miss Civ. We should start a giant server for Civ with like 7 people. He's like, oh yeah, we'll do that. And we did it, and it's consumed us.
Yeah, I every time I play Civ, you end up playing for like 4 hours just because you don't even realize. You're just like, oh, next turn. Oh, next turn. Oh, next turn. Oh, I get this next turn. Every single time when I'm done playing Civ, or I'll get to like that 3-hour mark, I'm just like, man, I feel like I'm just wasting my fucking time. Like I'm turning this off, and I just get off and go to bed or like go do something else. And every time I regret playing it, unless I'm playing with a bunch of friends. I just, even if it's just me and like 2 other people or 1 person, I'm just like, why? I'm just wasting. It's not even like that fun. Like it's fun, but it's like, it's a different kind of, it's not exciting.
It's so addicting. It is so, because it's so easy to just next turn. Ooh, I want the Hanging Gardens. Next turn. There's a lot of like, all right, guys, we're gonna get off. Wait. I'm 3 turns away from building this wonder. Okay, yeah, we'll give it 3 more turns.
And then we're on for another 40 turns. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're like, all right, let's get off now. No. I'm about to declare war. I gotta see how this plays out. Yeah, okay, we'll stand for another hour. Yeah, it's a tough addiction to fight. When you're absolutely lost in a video game and you can't think about anything else. Mm-hmm. It's tough.
We've been getting into Warhammer more too. That's been fun. I finished my combat patrol as it's behind me back here.
The frame might be covering it. Oh yeah, there you go. Show the people.
Yeah, Black Templars, the Flame Sword, Marshall Mitchell. That's Marshall Mitchell right there. Yeah, so I played a couple games of that. I've lost all of them, but you know, it is what it is.
Your first win will eventually happen. Yeah, I have a combat patrol as well. I'm playing Adeptus Mechanicus. Mitch is coming into town next weekend, so we're gonna play each other in Warhammer for the first time.
Yeah, so expect a podcast of us together. Oh,
yeah, we'll be in the same room. We'll be on the couch. I got this big couch in our basement. I've never actually sat on it because I'm scared. It was a couch left here by the previous owners. So I just got a weird thing with germs. So
put some plastic over it to cover.
Yeah, we have a cover. Like there's a cover on it right now, just sitting on it. I haven't actually like put it over the couch. I got some hangups.
Yeah, you don't know what's gone down on that couch.
I don't want to sit down on the couch. That I don't know the history of this couch. So we'll put a cover on it though. But yeah, very excited. It's going to be a weekend filled with Warhammer, making content, probably drinking a lot of beer, eating good, working out, pumping iron.
Oh yeah.
The bulk is real. The bulk is in phase right now.
I'm trying to slim down. It's a lot harder. I got a new job a few months ago, and I'm definitely not on my feet as much. I'm sitting down a lot at that job, and I can feel it when I'm trying to lose weight. It's way harder now. Like before at my old job, I was in a warehouse. I just drench calories off my body, like easy. Like I would, for lunch on my break, I just eat a whole rotisserie chicken and I'd be fine. I'd go back to work. Now, like, I definitely can't do that. Like, I don't lose weight nearly as fast. The gym grind is important to us. Games, gym, D&D, dork shit. That's the life.
Dork shit. That is the good life, just doing dork shit. Being able to do dork shit all day, it's a beautiful thing.
And getting
It's an
fucking,
absolutely beautiful thing.
getting fucking jacked.
Getting jacked and playing D&D.
And a couple of brewskis. Couple of brewskis. With the boys. With the
Just a couple
boys.
brews with the boys.
Speaking of, well, not speaking of, we weren't really talking about it, but yeah, so that was Tom's campaign. That's kind of what we've been doing recently. I'm also, I think I've said this on a previous podcast, I'm also kind of starting up an old campaign again.
Oh, yeah.
That we ran for a while. It was like I think I ran it for like a year. Tom's in that. A couple other guys are in that. And then I was in school and I had to move and it got busy. So we just stopped running it, just kind of out of the blue. And it was definitely the best, like my favorite campaign I've ran. And so I reinvited all the guys. We're updating the characters to 2024. They're all like level 6 or something. It's gonna be fun. It's set in my homebrew world of Valinand. They're in a location called Frostfire Valley. It's an Arctic tundra with one of the mountain ranges there is a volcanic mountain range. So it's kind of like this fire and ice kind of thing. And it's cool. They're at like a Goliath tribes. It's like the spiritual hub for all the barbarians. So they're about to compete in basically like Olympic Games in the session we come back. So that'll be fun.
Oh, yeah, buddy. I'm excited. Excited to play more D&D. Excited to get back into the rhythm. My favorite character I've ever created is in that campaign. So, Crios Solarin. He's a Leonin light cleric. Light clerics are the best clerics. You can't convince me otherwise.
I'd say so. Probably, I'd say, well, with the new rules, probably, because they can wear heavy armor now, too. So
I might have been wearing, I think I'm wearing some sort of mail, like chainmail or something.
yeah, I think they get medium armor. All clerics get medium, but now as a cleric in the new rules, you can take like the battle cleric or whatever as a level 1 cleric, and you can wear heavy armor no matter your subclass.
I'll probably still focus on spellcasting.
Well,
My
yeah,
guy's a beast.
yeah, Krios is good. All of the characters in that party were pretty good, except for our friend's character who was a ranger. He would just always miss or always fall over. It was pretty hilarious. But I think he's changing his character. So a couple of people are changing their characters. They don't really like the new ones in the 2024. So it's going to be a little refresh. We'll kind of talk about that. It'll be fun. We'll have multiple campaigns to talk about going forward.
I've been doing this thing in person too. So right now, the way that my in-person D&D plays is I will run Curse of Strahd bi-weekly, and then another one of my usual players will run his campaign on the off weeks. So every week we're playing D&D, but I'm only running once every 2 weeks. He runs a Death Games campaign. I've talked about it before in previous episodes. We're all like in purgatory and we're trying to fight to get our lives back and go back to the, get out of this weird like game that we're in.
Yeah,
but
you're playing Edgemaster Supreme.
Yeah, I'm playing the Edgelord fighter that used to be. He's like an Eldritch Knight. But anyways, the problem is we have 6 players total, party of 5 with 1 DM in both campaigns. And for some reason, the past couple months, our schedules have had a very hard time lining up. So there's always like 1 or 2 people gone. So we haven't really been able to play those campaigns a lot. So we've just been running one-shots every week. We're like, I'll run a one-shot. And then our friend Noah will run a one-shot. And then Connor will run a one-shot. And we unintentionally did this at first, but like a year ago, maybe even longer, when we ran our first one-shot because someone was gone. The theme was, let's make like a family, like an Italian mobster family, the Giovannis. So everyone was like, hey, Dolce, we don't know where, we're going to come do the job. And then the next one-shot happened, and they're like, we should stick with the Giovanni family. Oh, but I want to change my character. Okay, be a different character then in the Giovanni family. So for the last like year and a half, every time we run a one-shot, it is now its own separate campaign where everyone is a Giovanni. It's now become this like, because I'll run it in my world. I'll run my one-shots in Shiragath. And like Connor ran a one-shot the other week that was just based in the real world. It was like like the 40s or something in the real world. So the Giovannis have now just become this nexus event where they can be anywhere. They can be in any world. They can be any level. But every time we run a one-shot, the Giovannis have a new job. Hey, and then there's one guy at the top. His name's Don Giovanni. And he fucking gives out the jobs. Hey, you gotta go to this. You gotta go to this farm and investigate the missing person. No, you. It's really funny because everyone just comes with a new absurd character for every new one shot. It's a good idea that just happened naturally. But if you're ever if you know that you're running a lot of one shots, do something like that where it's like a continuing story that isn't connecting at all.
They're a multiversal
Yeah,
a multiversal company, a family.
yeah, exactly. Like
we're going to this fucking universe this time. Come on.
Yeah, like when we were playing death games, it was like, hey, there's a group of bandits out a few miles that way. We need you to go take care of them. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. We go there. It's just some of the dead Giovannis. They're in the death games, and now they're just a bandit encounter. So
that's funny.
I love making Giovanni characters.
I've had so many ideas for campaigns and one shots that I want to run, and I think I might try to. I really want to run in person, like a Warhammer one shot where you can play as like a Space Marine or something. That would be really fun. I don't know the rules of work. I really want to run either like a not as serious campaign that meets like once a month or like once every like 2 months or something. But I really want to run like a Pokemon game where you have like
you keep sending me Pokemon pictures.
I keep sending them pictures.
You'll just randomly send me a picture of a Pokemon for no reason.
Well, so I used the art generators to generate like random Pokemon. I'm just like, this one looks good. I'll just send it to him.
I'm like, dude, why you said it's in the middle of the afternoon? We haven't talked all day. Why you just sending me random pictures of Pokemon?
I just say Pokemon. But that would be fun. Like, I love the idea of like you play a D&D game, except you have like a monster that's like your main fighter, and you can like you can choose other ones and stuff, and you can level them up, and it's like progressing your pet instead of you. I don't know how I'd make that work. It would be fun, and then you can, if you run into other ones, you can use different ones, and they have different ability. It's just like a creative outlet that seems like it would be fun.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, more fun focus rather than like a very big story campaign. Like you got to come up with like a funny Pokemon person's name. They got like the hair that looks like a leaf or some shit. I'm the son of the gym leader and fucking 20 miles away, but somehow I'm 10 years old in here.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a cool campaign idea. I don't know. The more campaigns I'm part of, the less intrigued I am to run like one shots and stuff because I just have so much freaking stuff going on.
They don't feel as important. So it's like I'd rather just put my time into this actual campaign.
Yeah, like this week we always play on Thursdays. That's our weekly cadence for in person. And this week someone was going to be gone, and everyone's like, "Tom, are you going to run a one shot?" And at first I was like, "Yeah, I'll run a one shot." And then like I spent like 5 minutes thinking about it, and I was like, I don't want to run a one shot. I got too much shit to do. I've really kind of I've gotten into the mindset of kind of like our Sauce episode. If I'm running D&D, I want to run some good, meaningful, character-driven D&D. I've become less interested in just like, let's just get together and roll some dice. If we're getting together to just hang out, let's just hang out. I want to run good fucking D&D if I'm playing D&D, or if I'm running at least. Yeah,
I don't. If we're getting together and it's like, let's play D&D, but I have nothing prepared. Like that can be fun if you just everyone makes up like stupid characters. The story doesn't matter at all, and it's just goofy, and like everyone's just having fun with it. Like I remember online, I quickly threw together I was like a tiny mini campaign. We only played like 2 sessions because it was just a spur of the moment thing where I said, all right, everyone make a character who's level 1. You guys are in a town that's like in the middle of a forest. It's very high fantasy, very like nice and magical. And I had this idea in the spur of the moment of like, what happens to wizards and very powerful spellcasters when they get so old that they get Alzheimer's? So I had the main point of this town was there was basically an old folks home for wizards. So their whole point of the one shot was to go try and find the wizards who are like running away from the old folks home and are teleporting around because they don't know what they're doing.
When the hell did you do this?
A long time ago. But like they were like, they ran it before they knew what was going on. They like talked to this old man on the street, and he was just saying gobble. Like they had no idea what he was talking about. He's talking about his boots gone, and like he can't find something. And then they eventually they walk like 20 feet down the road, and some dude runs up to him. Oh, have you seen old man Jenkins? He walked out of his room. I can't find him. And they're like, oh, he's over there. And they look back, and he's like 80 feet tall in a tree, like stuck up there. He's like, ah, no! Like hanging from the tree.
This isn't a bus stop.
Yeah, so I was like, that would be such a funny idea. And I just themed the little mini campaign around like, oh, we got to go find the 4 old people who've like ran away.
I don't remember getting up here.
Yeah.
Cast fireball.
Well, basically, yeah. It's like if you have like a weapon of mass destruction and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's like Professor X and Logan.
Yep, literally.
You just gotta keep him in a freaking silo in the middle of nowhere so he doesn't kill everybody.
Yeah, and that was like a little spur of the moment campaign I just made up on the spot, and it took like 20 minutes of prep, which it was fun. But obviously, it's like that's different because it was also online. And if it's like an in-person thing, it's like you don't have all the funny art or like the goofy maps that you download. I don't know. It's not for me. I'd rather just hang out and play like a board game if we're going to do that in person.
Or like try, and this is a good topic to kind of segue. I tried a different system while in our off period from the podcast. I tried a different system for the first time. Monster of the Week. So Monster of the Week is it's a different system from D&D, and it was fine. One of my party members ran a Giovanni's one shot with the Monster of the Week system. Essentially, it is very simplified compared to D&D, which can be nice for like new players and stuff, but for someone who already knows the majority of D&D's rules off the top of my head, I would say I still prefer D&D. Monster of the Week is very much like you have 3 stats that you're good at, and now you have to roll like a check to investigate or a check to try and do something. But it's like the way that I would describe it in the simplest terms, it is a game system for the rule of cool, where you can be like, I'm going to summon a hammer and try to attack it with a magic action. How does that work? It's just like, nope, I'm just using my magic action to summon a hammer. Okay, roll your thing. It's like if you have 2d6, that's the system they work on, 2d6. If you roll like a 7 to a 10 or a 7 to an 11, then it works. If you roll 12, then it like critically works. If you roll below that, then it fails. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it, but I don't know. I thought it was fun, but I would probably never run with Monster of the Week. I don't know. I like having it's very open-ended for what you can do, and some people find that appealing. But the one of the things that I like about D&D is that there are so many rules. So you essentially D&D puts you in a box, and then it is your job to be creative to think to try and get out of that box. And I like that. I like seeing how I can take this spell that is clearly designed to do this thing and refabricate it to do something other than what it was intended to do, or just be creative with the resources you have.
Yeah, those are some of the best moments is when someone uses a spell or something in a way you don't expect and it like crushes the encounter or like solves a problem or that's a great thing about D&D that a lot of other games don't have.
Yeah, Monster of the Week is just like, oh, I'm gonna summon this, or I'm gonna shoot lasers out of my hands. It's like, okay, that's a magic action. It's just like that's just the action is you take an action to do something magical. It's like I'm gonna shoot a laser out of my hand. Yeah, it's so simplified, and it gives a lot of room for like creative thinking, for like, oh, I'm gonna do this cool thing, but it doesn't give a lot of room to like actually creatively try and break the boundaries of the game.
Yeah, mechanically nothing's different. It's just you can be as creative as you want because there's no boundaries, but because there's no boundaries, the game is very limiting in what you can do. Because I can magic action or I can attack or move, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like you have your uniqueness comes from you saying it at the table, not from what your character can do. So like a paladin, when they smite, everyone's like, oh, he's smiting because it does a lot of damage or whatever. And that's exciting. Nobody else can do that. So it's not like, oh, I just used my magic action, I'm going to smite him. And then the other person's like, well, I'm going to use my magic action, I'm going to smite him. It's not unique then. So it's
yeah. And there are certain classes, like you can choose like a certain class that you play, and they are better at certain things than other people. But yeah, it's just nowhere near on a granular level as D&D. And I like, for example, I was running a fight a while ago in my previous campaign, and the Dwergar warlord that they were fighting needed the wizard to step into a machine. So he was like doing all this stuff to try and get the wizard in the machine. He was vortex warping him. He was trying to mind control him to just walk in there. So the party picked up on this. So the cleric's like, I'm going to banish the wizard. Not the warlord. He's not banishing the enemy. He banishes his own party member so he can't walk into the machine. And I was like, oh, that is brilliant. And I applaud you. So you can't do stuff like that in Monster of the Week. Yeah, I don't know. New game system is fine, but goes back. And I know we talked about this on one of our very early episodes. Just give me D&D, baby. I'm not learning an entire new system because there's one or two things that I don't like about how D&D works.
Yeah. Now
D&D.
Is D&D perfect? No. Is D&D probably one of the best ones we got? Yes.
Well, we're right at about time. I don't know exactly how much time we're at, but it seems like we've been rambling on for a while. We're happy to be back. We have a lot of stuff in the works. I can't go too much into detail about some of it, but going to start making more stuff on YouTube. TikTok has been going pretty well, but just really trying to expand my horizons, make a lot more content in a lot of creative different ways than I usually do. So more will come on that, but we're excited to be back. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back next week, baby.
Woo! Let's go, boys. We back. We out. Let's go. Wow.